Right off the bat this week, Alex Orji is the starting quarterback for this game on Saturday. I guess we'll just throw it around the room first. I mean, your thoughts on the decision and naming it this early in the week?
I think the decision is fine. I mean, you got to hold guys accountable, right? That's what they always talk about, is holding guys accountable. You can't have 6 interceptions, and I understand that 2 or 3 were not on him, whatever. The ones that were terrible, right? You just can't have those mistakes. And I would love it, no matter who's behind center, if the guys around them would step up and do their jobs to make it easier on these guys, so that Davis Warren's not throwing off his back foot, or, everybody's yelling about at Alex Orji for not finding holes on those 3rd downs against Texas, when a pulling guard just needs to block one guy and Alex Orji's getting the 1st down. So that's where it really starts, is the guys around these guys have got to be better and who we expected them to be. And they just have not been. So that's where it starts to me. Everybody's like, well, do you temper expectations? Well, yeah, because this is the guy who lost out to Davis Warren, who may have thrown some good passes. He had 11 completions, and he looks like he's, starting to get into a little bit of a rhythm, but hasn't played enough football, clearly, to not panic when things go badly. And hopefully Alex Orji will. So it's about ball protection. And that's the reason they said coming out of camp, not just the completions, but the ball protection was one of the reasons that Davis Warren won the job. And if it doesn't translate, then you go with another guy. So I think we're all excited and hopeful that Alex Orji will be a gamer and will live up to expectations here, or not expectations, because expectations aren't very high, right? But exceed expectations here and be a better option, because they're going to have to score some points, fellas, to beat USC.
I was surprised that they named him the starter publicly, but after Saturday, I figured that Alex Orji would be the guy to start off against USC. It was funny because after the game, Sherrone Moore said that we'll have to see how practice goes, but then which is totally fine. He changed his mind, or at least maybe wasn't giving everything right after the game in terms of what he was going to do with this decision. But when you think of it, if you use practice to determine how this goes, it's probably Davis Warren again. And practice doesn't seem like it's been the issue. It's been a few decisions in games that you just can't have. So if you're going to play this style of football where you want to possess the ball and play bend don't break defense and make the opponent make mistakes, you can't turn the ball over on 7 of 28 Davis Warren led drives, which is what Michigan did. I mean, that's bad in college basketball, let alone football. No college basketball team last year turned it over on that many percentage of their drives. But if you're doing it in football, on a team that doesn't have that many big plays, they're not that explosive offensively right now, and you're turning it over, it's a terrible combination. So he kind of had no choice. But now, is this, does it mean just because you're going to something else, does it mean it's a great option? We don't know. And Michigan fans are hoping that Alex Orji and kind of a new look offense will be the answer. But, he opens up possibilities in the run game for Michigan, maybe limits what they can do in the pass game. But if he takes care of the ball and they can make some plays and play good defense, they're going to have a shot this weekend.
Yeah, to me, I mean, it all goes back to playing complementary football. And if you're going to be a team that wants to run the ball a lot, and Donovan Edwards, Khalil Mullings are going to shoulder this thing, and your pass attempts are limited, you can't turn over the ball the way that Davis Warren has. And we talked about this a little bit in the press box on Saturday. Like, to a certain extent, it reminded me of when John O'Korn struggled in that game against Rutgers in 2017. And I know we're cringing at any mentions of the 2017 season, but at a certain point, it just kind of becomes clear you have to change something. What's the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting something else to happen. 6 picks is too many. JJ McCarthy threw 4 picks all of last season. We've seen, that and then some in the first few weeks here. I
will say he had 3 of them against Bowling Green, against a terrible team, and so about what, 3? What do you have, 4 before the Big Ten season started or something? And then he was fantastic. So, but he's not Davis Warren's not JJ McCarthy. So to expect him to continue, I expect him to improve, but to be JJ McCarthy level, absolutely not. So you really
no, yeah. And I wasn't saying that either. It's just more right. Like that's the 180 of taking care of the football. Like, if it was just a game where you vomit all your mistakes at once and then you bounce back from it, it's one thing. But it's been a concerning pattern for an offense that's, really struggled with the attention to detail type of things. And, really it comes down to this. if Alex Orji goes out there on Saturday and looks really good and they beat USC, people are going to question this coaching staff and if it was the right move to go the way they did in the first place. And my reply to that would be, who cares? Just win football games. I don't know that a quarterback change before or during the Texas game changes how that game goes. That was right now, the AP poll says that's the best team in college football, and my eyeballs tend to say that as well. So, yeah, I mean, you fundamentally now are kind of changing what your offense is going to look like. And no, do I expect them to be a service academy where they throw the ball 2 or 3 times an entire game? No. But they're going to have to be a lot more creative with what they do for this because, as we've seen, we haven't seen him throw the ball a ton. And I'll go back to this too. I don't have an issue with them naming him the starter this week because if you're going to go this route, he needs to get first team reps every single time out there this week. You need to craft a game plan around what he does well. But it's going to have to be super creative. It's going to have to be, the design QB runs and the read option. You can't just plug the square peg into a round hole. And now you're asking him to make some of the throws that you were asking Davis Warren to make. It's just inherently going to look a little bit different. So, I mean, I guess I'll throw the ball back to you guys. I mean, what do we expect this offense to look like now with him out there?
Is it realistic to expect him to throw the ball a ton? Because, I mean, they wouldn't let him throw the ball last year, and he hasn't thrown much when he's been in the game this year. When he has, he's misfired, and everybody's like, well, we don't know if he can throw. Well, we kind of do, right? Unless maybe all of a sudden, boom, he puts a Superman cape on and improves dramatically here. They don't trust him to throw the ball. And I don't think that's unfair to say that. So at the same time, again, there are things that he can do that no other quarterback on the team can. And hopefully, they put him in positions to succeed. And what I mean by that clearly is not triple option. You can't just go ahead and scrap your entire offense and put in a triple option and everything else. As some people said, hey, do you think they have a completely new offense for him? No, they have different packages for him, but it can't be as predictable as it's been. And I think we need to see more read option. I think we need to see more old school Rich Rodriguez, right, with Pat White and guys like that, or with the Denard Robinson types, right, where you can do some RPOs if he's able to do that. But to me, I always come back to, if he was able to do that and they were able to do that successfully, then they would have done it in practice and he would have been easily the starter on this football team. So that's what concerns me. But you know what? Game reps are what's important, and he's going to get a lot of them. But to say that, okay, this is all of a sudden it's Alex Orji's team, I don't think that's the case. I think we're going to see these guys kind of going back and forth this year based on who the hot hand might be, or if they need a kick in the pants on offense, you might have to go to another guy. Somebody asked if Jack Tuttle is still on the team. He's been hurt. We've been saying that since fall. Otherwise, he might be the quarterback on this team. He probably would be the quarterback on this team, guys, flat out. So it sucks, but you're here and you support the guy who's there. I think the team is excited about this as well, and excited for Alex because they love him. He's a great teammate and a great kid. Hope he kills it, fellas. It would be a lot of fun to see a quarterback like him, that big, that strong, that fast, really have success here.
I think, this is crazy to say because Jack Tuttle got his waiver in January for his 7th year of eligibility, but I think they were banking on Jack Tuttle, pretty much, unless one of the other guys emerged, and doesn't seem like one of them emerged to the level of being a high level player. I mean, Davis Warren needs experience. You were hoping he could get that here while you go through the growing pains and the losses don't mount, but he didn't even give himself the opportunity to get to the Big Ten season with this. And then Alex Orji, we'll see. I do think the offense is going to look significantly different, kind of like how it did in the drives that he was in on. 3rd and 4, you run, and he had a great 13-yard rush for the first down pickup. The 9-play, 80-yard touchdown drive. It was 8 runs, and then a pretty easy pass out to Hogan Hansen. So it's going to be running the ball. When you do get in 3rd and medium, it's probably a run is on the table. So that can stress the defense in that way. But when it is a pass, you got to be able to complete it. I think they'll be able to move the ball a little bit and run for some first downs. But when he gets to 3rd and 8, what are they going to be able to do? The jury's still out on what Alex Orji can do in that regard. But he's electric when he's running the football, and it opens up, more for Kalel Mullings and Donovan Edwards too. It changes the math in the run game. So it just may work, which would be great, just in time for USC. But it's almost too bad that they didn't have, a different game this weekend. I know you can't change the schedule, but, just to get this down before you play a big game. But they don't have that luxury. At the same time, USC doesn't know exactly what to expect, and they're going to have to prepare for quite a lot. So it kind of works both ways. But it's going to be fascinating and just a huge, huge game.
Yeah, and it's a situation too where, I know one of the gripes against naming a starter this early was, oh, well, now USC knows to prepare for it. Do they know what to prepare for? We've seen this guy throw the ball, 5 times total in his career. I think for Michigan, this has a chance to be as successful as they are, as weird as they are willing to get with it, is going to determine how successful this is. Now, again, I think some people will argue if the best version of this football team is, this power spread type of offense that you'd like to run, why didn't Michigan just go all in on that? Well, I mean, I don't know that. We're not in the room during spring ball. We don't know, what exactly their vision for this team was going to be. But I do think it has a chance to work. I think that we've seen it. College football is so. I think everyone kind of puts themselves in a box and think about, oh, well, do you have an NFL quarterback? Do you have a guy that's going to make all these throws and know where to go on the route tree to all these guys? And I think you can get weird in college football and have it work. We've seen it work before at Michigan. Again, that didn't come with a lot of wins back in that era, but this can work if they're patient about it, if they're smart about it. A lot of that's on Alex Orji too. I think they're going to try and scheme up a lot of easy type of, again, the deep ball from Saturday. That's got to be a layup for him, right? That's a shot that with this look, I think defenses will give you stuff like that. And you got to convert him. It's like when you leave, a bad 3-point shooter open out on the arc. At some point, if that's going to be dangerous, you got to knock down some of those shots. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I just think with him, it's reps. And I don't know exactly what happened in fall camp, but you just hope that they didn't squander an opportunity, against a Fresno State, against an Arkansas State, where you really could have gotten this guy some legitimate reps and put some stuff on film to improve upon. Because, basically it's a new season that starts now. I think that with the 12-team playoff, obviously there's some grace that you'll get from that Texas game, but the real season starts now. It's another showdown game. And that's just, we'll see what Sherrone Moore and Kirk Campbell and Grant Newsome as well are kind of made of. I think those are the guys that kind of need to get everything in line for this to work. So,
yeah. And I think squander is a little bit, clearly Davis Warren was the better quarterback in the last week of camp, and everybody said it. Even the Alex Orji fans that really, really wanted him to be the quarterback, Davis Warren took that job. He had a great week of practice. It hasn't translated to the game, so I can't kick these guys in the butt and say, man, you guys really screwed up by playing the guy that was moving but at some point, 3 games is plenty, like you said, AB, to know that if it's not translating, then you have to do something else. Otherwise you're insane. So it was interesting. I brought that up. Imagine if Alan Bowman was still on this team. I wonder if they kicked the tires on him. You know what? There's a guy who's familiar with everybody in the room, right? You look at him and he had some success last year, and you say, hey, do you want to come home? Everybody's still here, and you're going to have a great opportunity here to compete for the job. But so for all the talk here that there was no other option in the portal and it was too late and so on and so forth, this is something that, even though they were scheming for a national championship, and that's where all of their attention needed to be, you have to have somebody in that room maybe back channeling for a quarterback, because how many of us called this, fellas, saying that this could be one of the biggest issues hindering this team in 2024?
Well,
it's tough when you don't know what JJ is going to do, though.
Well, they kind of knew what he was going to do. You know what? I think they did. In fact, as early as December, they had a pretty good idea, and I think they were, hopeful. But once he won the Natty, and you know what, once they got to the playoffs again, and once his draft grade kept going up, I think it was kind of a foregone conclusion, but regardless, they should have had somebody better, flat out, whether it's recruiting, whether it's portal. You do everything you can so that you don't take a huge step backward.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's when you look at who you're courting, though, if they don't know what JJ McCarthy is going to do, then it makes it tough. And then you have a coaching change, and no one really good was available in the spring. So it's too bad Jack Tuttle's hurt. It's too bad that Davis Warren, didn't make the most of his opportunity, because really, if you look at Saturday, he made 11 pretty good throws. I mean, the one to Marlon Klein up the seam on the free play was great. The ones to Fred Moore along the sideline were fantastic. But these big mistakes outweighed all the good things he did. Now, he didn't do any great things in any of the 3 games, so that limited him. But the mistakes were just massive, and I wouldn't be shocked if he's the guy at some point later this year. Just like I'm not shocked they had to go to Alex Orji at some point, and who knows if Jack Tuttle will get healthy enough and get his shot. So this feels like it's going to be ongoing throughout the year. But as Sherrone Moore said today, he kind of dodged the question about going back and forth and what that would say about the team and all that, which I thought was smart, because he's not going back and forth. So far, there's been one change, and let's go. Let's see what he can do.
Would it surprise either of you if we saw Davis Warren in the second half of Saturday's game?
I'm not surprised by much.
I don't know that I'd be surprised by anything at this point. And I guess that's the question I was going to ask when I came back around this way was, is this the last quarterback change they'll make this year? And I kind of lean no.
I agree. And that's why I said they're going to need both of them. And maybe it's the guy who has the hot hand and is playing better one week. And if a guy's struggling for 2.5 quarters of a game, remember Joe Milton against Rutgers, and then you finally bring in Cade McNamara and he gives you a spark, that doesn't mean that he's your quarterback. Remember the game that John O'Korn had against Purdue, right? And everybody thought, oh, Michigan found their quarterback. And then John O'Korned and kind of became the guy that we all kind of suspected he was. So they're going to need more than one guy, in my opinion. Hopefully not. Frankly, I hope it's Alex Orji just takes this thing and runs with it and proves too good to replace. I don't know that I expect that, but I certainly would love to see it, because, again, this kid is a physical specimen. And if he can put it all together, that would be fantastic.